My Hero Academia, 10 Things All Might Can Do After Retiring. Now that All Might's pro hero days are over, there are plenty of other things for him to focus on in My Hero Academia. It's hard to be a pro hero in the world of My Hero Academia. With organizations like the League of Villains and the Meta Liberation Army on the rise, every day is one where heroes risk life and limb for the safety of the citizens. It's even harder to be the symbol of peace. But for Toshinori Yagi, that task is now over. The pillar of hope-sustaining society has more or less crumbled after his second confrontation with All for One. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Toshinori's pro-hero days may be over, but he's more than earned his retirement. And there are other things he can do, now that he's no longer actively chasing down criminals. 10. He can finally take care of his health more. One of the reasons Toshinori is forced to retire is the injury he receives from All for One during their first battle. He loses his stomach and half his respiratory organs. By the time the anime begins, he can only spend a handful of hours in his All Might muscle form. Sir Night Eye actually tells Toshinori to retire earlier after having foreseen his death with his quirk. But Toshinori's stubborn self-sacrificial nature keeps him from following his friend's advice. Now that he's no longer capable of carrying All Might's burdens, he can focus on his health more. Recovery Girl must have been monitoring his condition before, but it's doubtful that he was following all of her recommendations. It's time for Toshinori to take a step back and take care of himself. 9. He can get therapy cope with his feelings of lost grief. Many heroes in both fiction and real life suffer from mental health issues, and All Might is no different. Recovery Girl and other such doctors may be able to deal with injuries. But the psyche is a bit more complicated. Toshinori may still have feelings of survivor's guilt and heavy PTSD after Nana Shimura's death, feelings Tamura Shigaraki's true identity must have unearthed. Maybe it's time for Toshinori to get some therapy. He could at least pay Hound Dog a visit. The guidance counselor at UA may be able to point him in the right direction, and his example would encourage other heroes to tackle their own mental health issues. 8. He can focus on becoming a better teacher. While he's an exceptional pro-hero, Toshinori hasn't always been the best teacher. He does try, but practicing heroism isn't the same as teaching it. He's already taken a few steps forward, having been seen carrying a Teaching for Dummies book. He should have picked it up sooner, but it's better late than never. The young heroes at UA are relying on him in a different way, now that his heroic self can't protect them from the villains. 7. He can support his successor Izuku Midoriya more. Toshinori's main task of teaching goes beyond the students of UA. His successor Izuku Midoriya still needs him. Toshinori already acknowledges this. And he realizes that he can't die until Izuku finally grows into the hero he is meant to be. That date seems to be rapidly approaching, as Izuku is mastering his quirk faster and faster. But until then, Izuku will undoubtedly appreciate his mentor's presence and support. 6. He can provide heroes with background information or advice. All Might may no longer be able to go patrolling and fight villains, but that doesn't mean he can't share his experience with other heroes. All for One is throwing new threats at hero society every day, and everyone needs to learn from the past so that they don't make the same mistakes in the future. In a way, All Might has already started to do this, as he has offered Endeavor advice on what being the symbol of peace means. 5. He can catch up with old friends like David Shield. Toshinori's focus on becoming the symbol of peace means that he's often neglected his personal life. For example, he doesn't always keep in touch with his friends. In the anime, his closest companion seems to be Detective Tsukachi, but My Hero Academia, Two Heroes introduces fans to David Shield and his daughter Melissa. In the movie, All Might's former sidekick David stumbles into a life of crime out of the desire to help him. He is eventually arrested, but it's unclear what happens to his daughter after that. One thing is certain. Quirkless and alone, Melissa would need her uncle Might's support after what happened. 4. He can start a family of his own. All Might's friend's situation might not be ideal, but it's still better than the family one. He has no family of his own, though he may have held familial feelings toward his mentor Nana Shimura. This isn't uncommon, as Nana herself gave up her family due to the danger. Still, it's never too late. Many fans see All Might marrying Inko Midoriya and creating a true mighty family. It would work out for Inko and Izuku too, as they both deserve better than the mysterious and absent Hisashi Midoriya. Inko wouldn't be in more danger as his wife than she is as Deku's mother. They would make a beautiful couple. 3. He can stop lying about the burden he has to bear. Wielders of One for All have kept the secret of the quirk for generations, just like they've kept information about All for One under wraps. So far, all signs point that All Might intends to continue that trend with Izuku. But his own secret life is over. He doesn't have to sustain the burden of forcing himself to be strong anymore. He doesn't even have to smile as much if he doesn't feel like it. The loss of One for All is undoubtedly painful, but it's also no longer dangling over his head like a sword of Damocles. The worst is over. From time to time, Toshinori can forget about being All Might and just be himself. He's human too. 2. He can use his image to promote awareness. It's unlikely that Toshinori will ever agree to be a little selfish, even now that he's retired. But All Might still has a lot of societal influence. And there's more than one way to fight for the well-being of the people. The idea of the symbol of peace had merit, but it didn't address many of the inherent problems of hero society. Prejudice against villainous and mutant quirks runs rampant and quirkless discrimination is practically institutionalized. All Might could stop villains before they even take that dark path. He might not be able to carry dozens of people out of burning buildings anymore, but he could protect children like Himiko Toga, Tenko Shimura, or Toya Todoroki and keep them from becoming monsters. The corrupt Hero Safety Commission may even hesitate to assassinate him, even if he does become a thorn in their side. 1. He could get his quirk back with Eri's help. All Might's health may have suffered the effects of his self-neglect and his quirk may be gone, but there is a surefire cure for that. Eri may be able to rewind All Might to a point in his life and he was healthy and he had One for All. She doesn't have the necessary control to do that, but she does manage to return Mirio's quirk. It seems unlikely that the manga's creator plans to do that since it's time for the younger heroes to take over. Still, having All Might as backup wouldn't hurt, especially since All for One is still very much a problem.